Thank you for staying with us. Today, Nepal celebrates Mount Everest Day in memory of the first summit of Mount Everest by Sir Edmund Hillary, a New Zealander, and his Sherpa Tenzing Norgay in 1953. The day is celebrated with memorial events, processions, and a special event in Kathmandu and the Everest region. Now, over the years, we have had many explorers and expeditions from the North to the South Pole and even to outer space. Every time they succeeded, we felt proud, as though in some way we had conquered that expedition with them too. Now, joining with me today via phone is our first Malaysians to make it up Everest, the two men who are among the pioneers of the Malaysia Boleh spirit. Now, today I speak with Datuk M Magendran, who represent the duo today, and 23 years later, after becoming the first Malaysian to reach the summit of Mount Everest. Good afternoon, Datuk. How are you today?
Good afternoon, Nadia. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Happy International Everest Day.
Yeah, happy International Everest Day to you too, and to all the Mount Everest climbers from Malaysia and also around the world.
So we know that to date, Malaysia has seen 25 expeditors who've managed to succeed climbing the summit of Mount Everest, and you were the first. Why Everest?
Right. Being a member of the Malaysian Mountaineering Association for a very long time, obviously that was one of the goals that we had. And we signed a memorandum of understanding with the Ministry of Youth and Sports to jointly undertake the Malaysia Everest 97 project. So naturally, being a member of a Mountaineering Association, we wanted to go higher to a point where we can inspire others.
So when you did this, it was actually a national program that was looking at sending Malaysians up Everest. How long did it take for you to prepare, and what did you have to do?
Right. It took us about 2.5 years to prepare prior to the actual expedition. So we trained both locally and also abroad. It is the selection process that we had to go through for about 2 years. We did skill training, we did team building, so we were exposed to high altitude. We did a lot of fitness training tests. So all this were the run-up towards the selection of the final summit team that will take up the Everest Challenge in 1997. So we started our training sometime late 1994 until end of 1996. So that's what we did to finally come up with a solid team that can put the Malaysian flag on the summit.
So it was actually a selection process. It wasn't automatically you and your team that was going to be chosen. It was a process that you had to undergo.
That's right, because initially there were about 120 applicants who applied to join the selection process. So it was a tough process, though, that we have to go through for a period of 2 years to finally have the team that can take up the challenge.
Dato', there are 17 routes that we know of to head up to Everest, and you ascended via Nepal. Now, of course, you chose the South Col, and this was a legendary summit because that was the same one that Edward Hillary and Tenzing Norgay chose. Why the South Col?
Right. Although there are 17 routes up Mount Everest, but traditionally, and there are only 2 routes that are most popular among first-timers. That is the Southeast Ridge and the North Ridge. So since it was our first ever expedition, we wanted to go through the Southeast Ridge, which is the traditional route. Of course, there are other much more tougher routes, but these are all pioneered by experienced climbers and thrill seekers. And to do a new route, it takes a lot more in terms of clearance from the local government, permit, and it is definitely much more expensive to try a new route. So since it was the first of its kind for Malaysia, we chose to use the traditional Sir Edmund Hillary's route, which is also not it's not so expensive compared to a brand new route.
What was your experience throughout the process? Not only being the first Malaysian up, but also flying the Jalur Gemilang at 8,848 feet above sea level. How did that feel?
That was great. It was a whole new experience for us, all of us, team members. From day one until the day we completed the expedition, it was something that is very memorable. Talking about planning from the very beginning, talking about team building, teamwork, right to facing all those challenges, facing the odds up on the mountains, having so many shortcomings. Although we had 10 climbers, finally only 2 managed to reach up to the peak. So being on the summit is a Malaysian, it's actually realizing a Malaysian dream. So of course, it was a 360-degree view of truth. You know, it was a very beautiful scenery, but realizing a Malaysian dream on the rooftop of the world was the best. And I can still, I will cherish that for the rest of my life.
Looking at the visuals, it is indeed humbling to even imagine the experience that you went through. Now the world has got a totally different feel. Datuk, what are some parallels that you can draw about your experience then and our current pandemic crisis?
You see, politicians, healthcare workers, frontliners, and the general public, we are all in this together, right? We need to work together as a team, just like the expedition that we were involved in. You know, it's a teamwork, and this is a greater teamwork. We are in this together, and we need to work hand in hand to break the chain of infection. We are being updated by the Director General of Health every day, and every day the things that we need to do, the things that we need to observe. So as responsible citizens, that is exactly what we need to do. We need to listen. If they say that, you know, we do not travel, we do not do cross-border traveling, we don't do that, because it is vital. All those people who are in charge, they know best. Sometimes we think that, you know, we are being taken for a ride, but it is not true. You see, this is something far more greater than what we think. So we need to work together. We need to work hand in hand. We need to be extremely serious about this. Otherwise, this health crisis is going to be around for a long time. So it takes great effort to work together to break through.
I'm glad you mentioned adversity and coming together in one and an effort. So I wanted to ask you, Dato', in your darkest moment when you were climbing Everest, did you have that moment of doubt when you thought, no, can I actually do this? Should I just give up? What went through your mind and what kept you going?
Right. There were about 180 climbers at the base camp at the time from 12 different teams. Okay, we all had only one goal, that is to reach the summit of Mount Everest. So we were actually surrounded by people with positive aura. Although there were accidents, there were shortcomings, but never did we have that thought of turning back. We were actually working towards overcoming all odds to make sure that, you know, the Malaysian flag flies on the summit of Mount Everest. We did everything we could to make sure that, you know, someone from the team takes the Jalur Gemilang up Mount Everest. So it was a team effort, and we did everything we can to make sure that, you know, the flag flies onto on the rooftop of the world. So there is no question about turning back. It was only about moving forward.
So there you have it, Dato. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. Happy World Everest Day. It's amazing that you flew our Jalur Gemilang so high up and gave us inspiration, even in dark moments such as this, on aspiring to become more as a nation. You said teamwork. You said it's about attitude, not just altitude. You said it's important to work together. And this, I believe, is the true embodiment of not only the Malaysia Boleh spirit, but also the Kita Jaga Kita spirit. So thank you so much for joining us today, Dato, and so much for all of your team today.
Thank you, Nadia. Thank you, Team Bernama.